Yeah, the fear is also that nefarious players will take this opportunity to erode civil rights, to erode civil liberties, and then China to gain power in the U.S. market, to gobble up a lot of stocks while everything is down, and try to increase their stake in our economy, and try to push,
China's got its hands lovingly around our throat because our elite have been moving into greater and greater states of China dependence, right? And so my claim is that China they supply so much of our stuff. We've moved all of our manufacturing base into these crazy supply chains, and we are completely dependent on a strategic rival. And China is very careful. If you remember when they hosted the Olympics, to have these amazingly impressive displays that are always friendly, but what they're really saying is we have our shit together and you don't. And our system was hackable. It was open. For example, if you have a company that has a duty to its shareholders, that the directors of the company must do whatever is in the best interest of the shareholders and everything else doesn't matter, then you can have a situation where a director has to move things to China because that is in the best interest of the shareholders, even if it's absolutely not in the best interest of the United States. This is what Ralph Gomory, who used to head the Sloan Foundation, once said in an address I was at the National Academy of Sciences. He just said, as a director, I am incentivized to do exactly the wrong thing for the United States of America. So I'm going to put one hat on and tell you, as an American, we must not move all of this over to China. And then I'm going to put my director's hat on and I'm going to vote to move everything over to China because I have no choice. And so, in essence, the smart, good people, all 11 of them, were always fighting this thing about you cannot become China dependent. And during the big nap, there was no way to make this argument convincingly. You couldn't say, look, we have a serious strategic problem by your continuing moves to bring China in as the solution to every equation we can't balance. And that is really the problem, is that there wasn't any ability to say, we are way too dependent on a strategic rival. You saw this at the beginning of the pandemic. Everyone was afraid of what? I don't want to appear xenophobic. I don't want to appear like Chicken Little.
Right.
And so all of our friends, the nutcases, the marginal weirdos, the supposed grifters and gadflies, are the people who most got this one right and early. And all the respectable people, like Nancy Pelosi telling people, please go to Chinatown to celebrate the Chinese New Year. Bill de Blasio of New York saying, despite coronavirus, get out there. Don't lead your lives. Don't let this thing hold you back. These people need to resign. Nancy Pelosi should resign. It's one thing to say we don't have enough information about this. It's another thing to say, take the information that's coming in, disregard it, and get back in there and keep fueling the economy. This is exactly our leadership class, their problem. They think about this in short-term economics. The long-term implications of us all sheltering in place, nobody can compute the consequences of this. Not one person in the world knows what happens when you run this experiment.
Yeah, it's a new thing, right? The Made in America argument was always like sort of frivolous, almost xenophobic. Like, why do you want things made in America? What do you care? Do you not like people from other countries? Do you not want to buy things from other countries? It was like this made in America thing was like people disregarded it in a lot of ways. But when you realize that all of our medical supplies, like so much of our electronics, so much of all the stuff that you need to kind of keep things exactly the way they are, it's cheaper to make it over there.
Yeah. The problem is we are all hooked up to this need for cheap products, profits, when we can't figure out how to innovate enough to actually create the juice in our own system. And therefore, we have to rationalize. You were going to say?
No, I was just going to say, I mean, also, we've gotten into this idea of every year we have to have a newer, better piece of electronics. Like, if you had to go the rest of your life with an iPhone 11, how much would you suffer?
Not that much. Although I would say that many of us are not that excited about the next phone. That itself is an antiquated thing.
Right, but what I'm saying is, like, why can't they make it so that you can just fix this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, who the fuck fixes their phone? You don't fix your phone. You bring it in.
Oh, you're
they're
going
like,
back to like
you can get a new
Depression era
one.
thinking.
Well, not Depression era thinking. It's like, why can't things be sustainable?
No. The planned obsolescence and the need to constantly update so that you're never. It's a tricky problem. If you need growth to power your system, then in a weird way, it makes sense not to build the optimal phone.
Right.
Because if you were to build the optimal phone and then people stopped renewing everything,
Your system's fucked.
then your system weirdly breaks down. So it makes sense at the level of the phone that you wouldn't want to do that. But weirdly, in aggregate, if you can't start innovating, if you can't figure out how to restart innovation in a big way, now you're stuck with either having to learn to live in steady state, which none of us, Americans have no program for living in steady state. We need growth. That was the whole point of the embedded growth obligation idea, that it's suffused throughout every institution. Every pension plan assumes growth, right?
Right.
All right. So now we have this problem where we don't have the growth and we need the growth. And then in a weird way, the planned obsolescence is like fake growth. It means that we're going to rebuy our phones even as if they were now highly innovative. So there's like a weird way in which we become dependent on nonsense.